السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Inshallah, today we are looking at lesson number 41, as you can see. And if you can remember, in the previous lesson we were looking at Kun Ahad as-Sab'a, but we look at part 1 of it, and we said there will be a second part of it. And as you can see here, this is the second part. So without wasting much time, let's continue. If you can remember, we talk about the 7 people who will be under the shade on the day of judgment, where there will not be any other shade except the shade of Allah, and 7 people are going to be enjoying from this shade or benefiting from this shade. Among them, we mentioned the first one, Al-Imam Al-Adil, a just leader. And then we are continuing from the second one. Okay. So the second one, their father is mentioning to them, and of course this is the saying of the Prophet. So their father is counting it to them, and he says that, so call Sulaiman. Sulaiman is their father. So their father said, Sulaiman said, Wasani ya awladi, and the second, oh my children, Shabun nasha'a fi ibadatillahi ta'ala. A young man, oh say Shabun, a young man, nasha'a fi ibadatillahi ta'ala, who grew or who was raised or who is raised fi ibadatillah. The verb here is nasha'a. Nasha'a means for something to grow. Okay, so to grow. So if I see example, Nasha'tu fi hazal balad, or I grew up in this city. Okay, so that's Nasha'a. Another meaning for Nasha'a is to form. When something is formed, we call Nasha'a. It is formed. So for example, when it rains, most of the time you see that mud is formed. After rain, there is mud. So we see that Nasha'a wahlun, mud has been formed, or mud is formed. So for something to be formed, it's called nasha, yansha, it is forming. Another meaning, as I said, is to grow. Okay, to grow. So shabun nasha fi ibadatillah, a young man who grew up in the ibadah, the worship of Allah. So a young man who is conscious of his deen, or who is very, young man, youth, the time of youth, that is the time most people try to see that that's the time to enjoy life. But rather, that is the time for you to use your strength to worship Allah. Because if you are disobeying Allah, or you are not in the worship of Allah, if you are not in the obedience of Allah, at the useful age, as when you become old, how can you now do the work? If you are strong and you are not doing the work, the time you are old, how do you expect to do the work as it should be done? So the youthful age, that is the main part of one's life, which you have the ability and you have the strength, you have all the resources to worship Allah in the appropriate form. So anyone who use it, that's what he's saying. Shabun nasha'a fi ibadatillah, a young man who is raised in the ibadat of Allah. Hunalika waqafa ash-shaykh. There the sheikh stopped. Waqala, and he said, Yumkinu kulla wahidin minkum ya awladi. It is possible for every one of you. Yumkinu, it is possible. Okay, we have said it. Amkana yumkinu, for something to be possible. So yumkinu kulla wahidin minkum. It is possible for every one of you. Ya awladi, oh my sons. An yakuna zalika shabba sa'ida, to be that happy young man. The man, which happy young man? The young man who is raised or who grew up in the ibadat of Allah, in the worship of Allah. So every one of you can be that, because you know his sons, they are still young people. He's talking to his sons, his children who are young people. So he's telling them that they could also be those people. Walakin iza dayatum fursata shabab. But if you waste, okay, lakin iza dayatum, the verb here is daya. Okay, daya, or say daya. Daya means to lose something, So daya, you daya. So if I say dayatu mali, I have misplace my money, or I've lose my money. I lose something, that is ضيع. Okay. So, ولكن إذا ضيعتم فرصة الشباب, when you miss or when you lose the opportunity of youthful age, fursatun is opportunity. Okay, fursatun means opportunity or chance. You have the chance to do something, that is fursatun. And shababun means youth or youthful age. So if you when إذا ضيعتم فرصة الشباب, when you lose or you miss the opportunity of youthful age, فليس لكم إلا الحسرة والندامة, then there wouldn't be for you except hasratu, loss, والندامة, and regret. So this is what is going to happen to you. Now, the third one, he continues, so that is the second one, Shabun Nasha'a fi ibadatillah, a young man who is raised in the obedience or in the worship of Allah. Then the third one, Rajulun qalbuhu mu'allaqatun, or Rajulun qalbuhu mu'allaqun fil masajid, a young man whose heart is hanged in the center of worship, the place of prayers, that is the masajid. So rajulun qalbuhu mu'allaqun, when we say mu'allaqun, something that is hanged. Okay, so you know in the time of the age of the prophets, that they used to, in Arabia, the most knowledgeable poets, okay, the most knowledgeable people in poetry, they used to compete in writing poems, Arabic poetry. And so the best poems, they used to hang it on the walls of the Kaaba. So they call them mu'allaqat. You see, mu'allaqat. So once you mu'allaqun, bimana, something that is hanged. And you know, even the human being, the human being is created from a fluid that at one point in time it hangs itself to the uterus of the mother. You know, in science we have something that they call implantation. Allah has talked about this, way behind before. You know, the Quran talk about khalaq al-insana min alaq, and alaq is something that is hanging. It describes a point where the child, in the developmental stages, it implants itself to the uterus of the mother. Okay, so that is allaqa. The verb is allaqa yu'alliqu. Allaqa means he hanged. Allaqa, he hanged something. Okay, so rajulun qalbuhu, the thing which is being hung is called the mu'allaqun. I hope that is clear. So rajulun qalbuhu mu'allaqun, a man whose heart is hanged fil masajid, in masajid. So you know, there are some people, they don't find comfort except in the masajid. You know, like the prophet says, ju'ilat qurratu ayni fi salat. You know, my comfort has been placed in prayer. There are some people, they don't find comfort except in the masajid. You know, and it is something that is very common in among the Sahabis. Some of the way, if you look at the seerah of some of the Sahabis, when they get very, very, very angry, they just go to the masajid. And then when things are not well with them, not necessarily anger, when things are not just well with them, the place of resort is the masajid. Allahu Akbar. So rajulun qalbuhu mu'allaqun fil masajid. People whose hearts are hanged in the masajid. In the zikr, not necessarily in the masajid, but in the doing zikr or remembrance of Allah in the masajid. Qala al-awlad, the children said, Huwa ka-shaykh Abdul Ghani fi hayyina. That is like, or he is like Sheikh Abdul Ghani fi hayyina, in our area. Hayyun means area. Okay, hayyina, our area. You know, when you have a city, it's further divided into areas. So you say that I live in this area, my friend live in that area. So that area is called hayyun. Okay, area or district is also called hayyun. فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَرْتَحُ إِلَّا إِلَى الْمَسَاجِدِ. For indeed, he does not rest. Okay, rataha means to rest. Okay, إِنَّهُ لَا يَرْتَحُ إِلَّا الْمَسَاجِدِ, except in the masajid. وَلَا تَفُوتُهُ جَمَاعَةٌ. And the congregation, jama'atun, the congregation, the congregational prayer, la tafutuhu. Fata yafutu is the verb. Fata means for something to miss me, or for something to miss another thing. Okay, so for example, I have a meeting at a particular stipulated time, let's say 9 o'clock a.m. and maybe I overslept. I woke up and it is 10 a.m. So I'll say tafutuni al-ijtima'u. The meeting I have missed the meeting. So fata is for something to miss another thing. So wala tafutuhu jama'atun. The congregational prayer he doesn't miss it. Wala nazunnuhu yabitu. And we don't think of him spending his night. We have seen bata yabitu, to spend the night. Illa fil masajid, except in the masajid. We don't think of him to be in simplicity. We don't know of him to spend the night except in the masajid. I hope that is clear. Qala Sulaiman said, Sulaiman is their father. La ya awladi. No, oh my sons. You know, they talk about him spending the night in the masajid, and then he's always in the masajid. But their father is saying that وَلَكِنَّهُ مُحَافِظٌ عَلَى الصَّلَاةِ. But he preserves the prayers. He preserves over his prayers. Bimana, not just anyone who is always in the masajid, but someone who is in the masajid. And you know, if you go to the masajid, there's a goal, there's an aim. The main aim is for ibadat of Allah. So it's not just to go to the masjid and rest or sleep in the masjid or do what, but in the preservation of prayers and then other ibadat. That is what is meant here. Okay, هذا هو المراد في هذا السياق. I hope you can remember murad. We look at murad in the previous lesson. The thing that is intended. So wal jama'at, he preserves over the prayer and then the congregation. He doesn't let the prayer miss him or even the congregation, the prayer time or even the congregation. وَقَدْ أَخْبَرَنِي أَنَّهُ مَا فَاتَتْهُ صَلَاةٌ فِي جَمَاعَةٍ مُنْذُ 10 سنوات أو أكثر. وَقَدْ أَخْبَرَني. This is, you know, the verb أخبر. أخبر means to inform. يخبر means he is informing. So وَقَدْ أَخْبَرَني. And this is not majhul. If I see the majhul is ukhbirtu. Ukhbirtu means I was informed. But if I say akhbara, it's like he informed me. Akhbarani, he informed me. But so that's what he said. Waqad akhbarani, and he informed me. Annahu ma fatathu salatun, that he has not missed the prayer fi jama'atin, in congregation, munzu 10 sanawatin, since 10 years, or aksar, or more. So be manner for about 10 years or more, he hasn't missed the congregational prayer. May Allah grant us this ability and even more than that. Rajulani, the fourth one. Rajulani tahabba fillah. They love one another for the sake of Allah. That is tahabba. The verb here is tahabba. Yatahabbu. That is the mudara, which means for two or more people to love one another. Okay, tahaba, you can see tafa. When you see verbs that come on the pattern fa'ala or tafa'ala, it comes to mean there is musharaka, there is participation. I've said this before. Okay, like you have qatala, you see there's an elongate, there's an imad. The alif is there for imad. Qatala, jadala. Okay, so tahaba, you see after the ha there is alif. It means there is musharaka, there is participation in sarf. So tahabba fillah, matter two, as you can see here, rajulani, two men who love one another for the sake of Allah. Ijtama'aha alayhi, they gather for the purpose. When we have ijtama, the verb ijtama'a ala, when ijtama'a comes with ala, it means they gather for a purpose of something. Okay, to gather for the purpose of something, that is ijtama'a ala. So for example, Allah says in the Quran, قُلْ لَوْ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. So if the mankind and jinkind the human beings and the jinns, they gather together. Allah, for the purpose. And yet to be misli hadha al-Quran, to come with something like the Quran, to come with a version, something just like the Quran, they wouldn't have been able to do so. So ijtama'a ala, it means to gather for the purpose. Even in the hadith of the Prophet, the Prophet saying that wa'lam anna al-ummata law ijtama'u ala an yadurruka bi shay'in la yadurruka illa bi shay'in qad katabahu Allahu lak. So if people were together, a whole nation was together, ala, for the purpose, and yadurruka bi shay'in, to harm you with something, they wouldn't have been able to do so except with what Allah has already ordained or written for you. So ijtama'a ala, it means to gather for purpose of something. So he's saying that ijtama'a, you can see that the alif at the end, it means two people. So the verb is just ijtama'a, yajtami'u. When you add the alif, of course we all know these basic constructions. When you add this alif, meaning two people, you say qala, and one person, qala, two people. So ijtama'a alayhi, they gather, the two people, they gather alayhi, for the purpose. This he is referring to Allah. You can see fillah. So this he is, this ha at the end is a pronoun yarji'u ila, that returns to Allah. I hope that is clear. So ijtama'a alayhi, they gather for his purpose, for the purpose of, for the sake of Allah. That's what he said. Wa tafarraqa alayhi, and then they separate or they disperse alayhi, for his purpose, for his sake. So whenever these two people, when they gather, their purpose is for Allah. When they separate, is for Allah. Anything they are meeting is for Allah. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. Our life should be filled with that. In this what thing we are doing, Allah should be the intention, or Allah should be the reason. The most, best use of time is time that is spent with Allah, for the sake of Allah. So anything that we do, let's try to coin our intention. That's the most important thing. Intention. It's a fundamental thing in Islam. Very, 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 very important. Because any small thing that we do, the main thing is what intention, why are you doing it? That's what you will be asked on the day of judgment. Any small thing will account for it, and the main thing is the intention behind it. Was it for the sake of Allah? So tafarraqa, anytime we can have casual things. We can have just casual, partying and just try to just basic things. But all these small things that we can do and have fun and other things, let's try to purify our intention and coin it for the sake of Allah, so that we will have the best in this life and the best in the hereafter. May Allah grant us the ability. Qulu Ameen. Say Ameen. So وَتَفَرَّقَ عَلَيْهِ, and then they separate for his sake. وَإِذَا أَرَدْتُمْ أَن تَرَوْهُمَا, and if you want to see them, to see these two people, to see how who they are, فَانْظُرُوا إِلَى الشَّيْخِ صَالِحٍ, look to Sheikh Saleh, was Sheikh Hamza, and Sheikh Hamza. So he's given an example of some people in their area. فَهَذَا مِنَ الْهِنْدِ, for this one is from Hind. The first one, Sheikh Saleh, that he mentioned, he's from Hind, India. وَذَلِكَ مِنْ Buhara, and that, the second person, is from Buhara. Buhara, as you know, is a city in the country Uzbekistan, and that is where Imam Bukhari was from. Imam Bukhari is from this place, okay, Bukhara, from a city in Uzbekistan. Okay, so and that second person, Sheikh Hamza, he is from Uzbekistan, this city in Uzbekistan, Bukhara. Wahuma akhawani fillah, and they are brothers fillah, for the sake of Allah. So and that is the beauty of Islam. Islam doesn't, as far as we are Muslim, we are not restricted by boundaries, country boundaries. Okay, as far as I'm a Muslim, someone in China or someone in India, there's no difference between me and him. I see him as my brother. Innamal mu'minuna ikhwa. Muslims are brothers. That's my true brother. Yes, that's my true brother. So even if I have family members who are not Muslims, or who are mushrikeen, who are against Allah, who are harsh against Allah, someone who's not even in my family and not even in my country, or not even having a relationship, as far as the person is a Muslim, he is the one who is more deserving of brotherhood to me than the one who is a mushrikeen, or someone who is against Allah, and he is even my family member. He's not a real brother to me. Like Allah tell Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam, no complaint after the ship, no, after the drowning of the people. No, and before the drowning occurs, when Allah was about to start their punishment, Noah called his son to come and board on the ship, and then he says that he will take refuge from the mountain. He refused, and so he was kana min al-mughrakin. Allah says he was among those who were drowned. He drowned, and so when Noah alayhi salatu wasalam, he called unto Allah. Allah says that he will save him and his people. So Noah alayhi salatu wasalam is saying that my son is from my people, and your promise is true. He was saying that Allah promised him to save him and his people, but his son is from his people. His son didn't board the ship, and so Allah told him that he is not from his family. He is not from his family. You see, even his own child is not from your people. As far as he's in the disobedience of Allah, he's against Allah. He's not a Muslim. He's not deserving to be your son. Even though biologically that is your son, in the sight of Allah that is not your son. He's not deserving to be your son. So that's what happens. What holds us together, what truly means brotherhood, is Iman. When we share similar Iman and Iman in Allah, and that is what really makes us brothers. May Allah grant us the ability to understand this and put Islam in our lives. Inshallah, let's pause here and I will complete the remaining part in the next lesson. So as you can see, we have looked at four of those people. I hope that is clear. Jazakum Allahu Khairan. وبارك الله لي ولكم في قرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم من الآيات والذكر الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.